the grow-up situation are very different. Okay? So we have been actually teaching, we have been doing a lot of workshops in different organizations to look at all the different containers and to help them to adapt leadership style to the different container. Okay? That was characteristics 1. Let's quickly move to characteristics 2. Characteristics 2, water is altruistic. Okay? Help other people, serve other people. So one leadership paradigm that a lot of people talk about is servant leadership. That's actually one of my research areas as well. Leaders, why they have power is they are willing to serve other people. So altruistic. Okay? Laozi also once said, treat those who are good with goodness, and also treat those who are not as good with goodness. Thus, goodness is attained. Okay? So good leaders need to be altruistic. Okay? Also, so one of the key topics, very hot, I don't know why, in the past 2 years, many corporations ask us to do a lot of training as the manager how to become a coach, how to better coach the staff, because a lot of Chinese managers don't know how to be a coach. Okay? Because our previous generation never coached us, right? Just give instructions. But now the Gen Y need to be coached. Okay? In fact, many studies, that's actually in UK, they find out that 56% of the Gen Y, they expect the managers to be the coach. And 21% even have that utopia, think that they can be a friend. Okay. So what is the contrast between manager and a coach? Okay, manager, get things done. Coach, the main focus is to develop and help people. Manager mainly is to monitor and control, deliver results. A coach, show care. Okay? Managers provide answers, but coach asks questions. Okay? Manager command, but coach promote dialogues. Okay? Manager task focus, coach is more relationship focused. So a key paradigm for us to learn leaders for water as a water is to become a coaching leader. Okay? Why is so important? And a lot of people, when they want the staff to become better, they forget when people need to go through the 2 steps. Okay? You need to shift your staff in order to do development. First of all, they may be unconsciously incapable. they even don't know that they are not good at. Okay? So first of all, you need to ask questions so that they realize that they are consciously incompetent. They realize what they are not good at before they can develop as consciously competent. Many Hong Kong people want to microwave the staff. Ding熟啦. They just want to hear, just go through here. Doesn't work. Right? They want to have 3 minutes, just tell them all the mistakes, never do the same mistakes again, but the same mistake happened. Right? Because they don't explain why. Because they don't actually shift the ownership to them. They don't realize what they're not good at. They just feel that the manager being too harsh, too high the standard, they don't understand my situation, want to cry, and then want to quit. Okay? Actually, in fact, once I have one of the largest logistics company. I went there to do training, and there's a Chinese lady told me, "Oh, the Gen Y, you cannot tell them any mistake. When I tell them mistake, they bow harm, they cry in front of me, and the next day, the resign letter is on my table." So yeah, so I guess the first question I asked her is, how did you tell her that the mistake? Of course, her style is this, not doing well, go. Never do the same mistake again, go. Right? They skip this important part. And this important part is the essence of coaching. Okay. In fact, there's a very latest research, a very interesting effect called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Anybody heard about this? Oh, okay, there's only PhD people. Look at that. It's very interesting. they do a test. They ask a bunch of people to do an IQ test, okay? And before they do it, after they do it, they didn't tell them the score. But they ask, what is your perception of how well you do in the score? In the score, and they map the perceived score and the actual score, and they find out the two curves always have gaps. For people that are in the bottom quartile, the perceived ability is much higher than the actual capability, so they don't know that they are unconsciously incompetent, right? But for the very top people, they find out that most of the top people, they underestimate the capability. That's the Dunning-Kruger effect. So basically, it's novice underestimate the performance, and expert underestimate the performance. So being a coaching leader, you need to point out the gap. You need to help them to bridge the gap. For those overestimate their power, you need to first ask a lot of questions, guide them so that they know that they are consciously incompetent, and then find out ways to develop them to be consciously competent. And for the really top talent, the other way is true. You need to encourage them. Then you need to empower them so that they can really make the perception matching the true talent and the capability. And most of the people are affected by the Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay? Only very few people really truly have the self-awareness, understanding what the hidden talent is. They need a coach. They need a mentor to help them. Okay? So most of the people, when I talk to the Gen Y, they will always feel that, oh, my manager is a slave manager. Okay? And when they see the manager, they see like a pharaoh watching over the shoulder, micromanaging them every step. That's the slave manager. So the new paradigm is servant leaders. Being a servant leader, one of the key things is learn to be a coaching leader. Okay? And maybe even learn to be a mentoring leader. Okay? Coaching leader focus on how and what. Mentoring leader help them to understand the meaning, the vision, the career path, the why. Okay? In the past few years, I've been running a lot of mentorship programs. In fact, one of the largest mentorship programs in Hong Kong, called Slot and Slam, is I actually founded. In fact, Angus is one of my mentees, right? And we're training those generations to also mentor the underprivileged kids in some circle, in some poor region in Hong Kong as well. So I found that mentorship is a very powerful tool. But yet, also mentorship is supposed to be the Chinese way of teaching people. But we lost that art. We lost that. So we need to relearn the mentorship, 師傅, 師徒, okay, or the 師友. Okay, we need to relearn that skill in the 21st century to develop people. Okay? Characteristics, 3. Water is modest and humble. Let's have a grab of water too. Okay? Power distance. Laozi once said, in the highest antiquity, the people did not know that there were rulers. In the next age, they loved them and praised them. In the next time, they feared them. In the next, they despised them. So we're talking about different level of leaders. The best leaders, they didn't know that even they are there. Okay? The second level is they love and praise them. The middle layer is they fear the manager, and the next, they really despise them. Okay? So the best leader in Laozi is Mo Wei. Okay? Of course, that's a very utopia style, right? But yet, the worst one, I really believe, the worst leaders, you really despise them because they overpower you all the time. Okay? So one of the key things that we can learn from water is how can we lower the power distance between the manager and the staff. Because the young generation, in fact, that's a universal convergence. Most of the countries, they see the next generation, they want lower power distance leaders. Okay, what is power distance? Okay, so first of all, I want to get a pool. Okay, if you want to get a pool again, let me go to this. It's pulling. Okay, leaders and power. Okay, so I want to get a few. Okay, if you really have to choose one of the two, okay, leaders should make sure others see, make sure his or her controlling power, or else people will not follow the command with discipline. Okay, make sure others see. Okay, view. There's a missing word here. Make sure that others see his or her controlling power, or else people will not follow the command with discipline. Okay. Second, if leaders exert controlling power, the staff can feel that they are being micromanaged, and they may feel demotivated. So if you have to choose one of the two, what do you see? Which one is you are more tend to agree? Okay. You tend to agree that sometimes if you have too much control power, people may be seeing that to micromanaging you, or you have too less power, people will not follow your discipline. Okay. Oops. Next. This one. Oh, so it's about the same. About the same. Which is right. The key thing is to find the right balance between the two. Right? So your result kind of agrees to the thing. Yes, too much power, people may feel that you are over micromanaging them. Too less power, they may become too just going anywhere, right? Yet, in the 21st century, the key, I don't think we need to teach Chinese manager to have more power, because that's in our blood already, that's in our culture already. Yet we need to teach or to develop leaders to let go and to have shorter power distance, especially in this part of the world. Okay? So a few good quote that I find is quite enlightening. Seneca said, one who has great power should use it lightly. Okay? Lord Cunningham once said, if you use your authority power, you will lose your influence. Use your influence, and you will gain authority. Okay. I will actually, the handout, I'll give it to you at the end. Okay, so you will have all the notes today. Okay. Effective leaders is not about controlling from the top. It's about unleashing the power of people. True, right? Yet it's very hard to practice in real life when you see people not punctual on time, when they're 10 o'clock, where are you? You should be here at work at 9:30. Right, Ruth? No, just kidding. She's always come at 10 o'clock. But that's okay. Allow her to, because she always work late until 7 or 8 o'clock. Okay? All right. Power distance. Power distance is the extent to which less powerful members of an organization expect and accept that power is distributed unequally. Okay? If the power distance is too high, then you see your manager has become the pharaoh, right? If it's low, then you see it as a friend. So already, we see all the research telling us that the young generation want to have lower power distance. Okay, of course, what they want, like my daughter always asks me, can I have ice cream? Can I have a candy? Not all they want need to be satisfied, right? Yet we understand that in general, they prefer leaders to be lower power distance. That's a fact. Whether we give them all, just truly become friends and no power at all, I don't think that's realistic. But before, the expectation is okay to be that high power distance. But right now, if you are managing or leading the younger generation, you may want to lower a little bit. They may get more motivated. I'm not saying that you should be like that. That's unrealistic want. What they need is here. Okay? You still need to exert some power, but not as high as before. Okay? So the Gen X and Gen Y, most of the research find out that they have a different expectation of power distance. The Gen X can tolerate higher power distance. Gen Y can tolerate less power distance. But again, this is a bell curve. It's a bell curve. Okay, just the average mean have a different expectation. Yet a very interesting result from the Globe research. Globe research is one of the largest cross-cultural leadership study in the past 10 years. Look at Hong Kong and China. Out of different expectations of leadership, yes, the power distance is quite high. Actually, the power distance in the Confucius society is typically very high. Yet, the Globe research also asked the second question. What is it now as is? And what is it should be? Okay? All the Chinese manager saying that they want to have lower power distance. Okay? That's applied in mainland China, that's applied in Hong Kong as well. So yes, they acknowledge that right now it's very high. Actually, the highest power distance among Greater China is where? Taiwan. Actually, Taiwan has the highest power distance as is. If you work in Taiwan organization, it's very hierarchical. The boss tends to make all the shots, even more so than mainland Chinese. Yet, if you ask the next generation, they all want less power distance. Okay, so that's latest research. Okay, so how to do that? How to lower the power distance? Involve more the decision making. Not like Wang Zhenying to pretend to listen. Sorry, that's a very bad statement. Sorry, wait. So don't record that, okay, please. Oh, okay. At least the young generation of the Hong Kong Chinese people don't perceive that the leaders in the government are listening to involving them in the decision making. Okay, so don't want to get into trouble. Okay, involve more staff in decision making. Okay, 真諮詢, not fake to solicit and to just do yourself. At least when you listen, you pay attention. You have the right body language. You have the active listening when you listen to them. When you really you cannot use the decision, try to explain to them a little bit more. Of course, you cannot explain to thousands of people if you manage 1,000 people. There's always 20-80 rule, right? 20% of your top performer do 80% of the work. Right? There's always a 20-80 rule. Do you pick the 20%? You can involve them into more of the decision making. Let them feel that the leaders have less power distance and listen to them. Okay? More informal dialogues. I encourage a lot of CEO to have a weekly open door policy. Also having more CEO luncheon with different staff. Unfortunately, my advice usually are well taken for the first 2 months. After the third month, the door closed and the coffee is not again. So I need to keep on coaching them because that's not the usual style of the Chinese way, the informal dialogue, right? So as HR, or many of you are in HR, you need to constantly remind people to have lower power distance, especially the middle and the higher management. Okay. Also learn the skills of delegation, not just giving them work. Delegation is about explaining the meaning and the impact, and they give the task. Also understand whether they are consciously incompetent or consciously they may want to use this job to move them. If you give them a very challenging task, do you also give them enough coaching to make them successful? Usually not. Okay. Delegation is all about not just giving a task, but also give enough coaching to help them succeed. Okay. All right. The fourth characteristics of Live Like Water, and probably this is the hardest, especially Chinese leaders. This probably is a lot hardest, is being an authentic leader. Water is clear, water is transparent, right? be very self-aware, understand who you are, what's your vision, and things like that. That's the characteristics of authentic leader. Laozi once said, mastering others is strength, mastering yourself is true power. Okay? So one of the key development programs that I find to be very powerful to develop authentic leaders is storytelling. I'm now training a lot of leaders to use storytelling. Okay? First of all, that is what the Gen Y like. The next generation don't like dogmas. They don't like principles. They like authentic small stories. Because they are the Facebook generation. Why? The Facebook generation. In every morning, when they eat a breakfast, a 餐蛋面, okay, they snap a picture and they broadcast to all their friends and they keep on refreshing and see how many likes they got. Very 無聊, very meaningless stories, but very authentic. And they like to see this. I once tried to imitate Gen Y to post a 餐蛋面, and in 15 minutes I got like 20 likes. But when I post a very insightful leadership principle, I got 1 like. And the only like is mine. I give my own like, or else I won't get any like, right? People don't like principle, don't like teaching. They like authentic small stories. Okay? And I now using a lot of these storytelling tools to help leaders. Because storytelling, there are two folds. Okay? Okay, first of all, Gen Y see transparency, authenticity as good leaders' characteristics. They like leaders as like water, and they don't like people 講一套做一套. They don't like hypocrite. Okay. So, and most of the principles, as you all know, all the leadership principles, all good leaders, it's very hard to do, right? They see, oh, you're saying that the organization should be transparent, the organization should be open, but they don't see you doing that. They get very demotivated, right? So one of the key things using storytelling as an approach is for leaders to first go through some of the key stories in their life. I'm training managers to just look at some interesting, so what are some of the turning points in their life? What makes you have that vision? What makes you to be successful? How do you realize your strength and weakness? All those little stories. You can, when they say it out, I help them to shape it to crystallize the story. That stories, the more they have those stories, 4 or 5 stories in the pocket, the more they can use those stories to inspire the staff. Okay? Because the people get inspired by real life stories, not dogma, not principles. And the leaders need to be prepared. If they have 4 or 5 little stories in the pocket, when they are coaching a certain staff, when they're going through a hardship time, they can use those stories to help them to go through. Not telling them, oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should do that. They hate it. Sound like your mother, right? They hate managers to become mother because they have too much Chinese mother in their life. The Gen Y, the next generations want to hear stories. How you struggle. When you struggle, how you develop who you are. It can be full of challenge. Some of them you may not even overcome it, but you are open to share those stories to inspire. So there are twofold. The more crystallized their own life stories, the better leaders, the more authentic leaders they become. And when they become authentic leaders, they have influencing power to inspire the next generation. Okay? So there are twofold. They can develop themselves as a better leader. They can also develop the followers. So the latest research also that to develop as an authentic leader, storytelling is a very good approach. Okay? Also, this is probably the most difficult part. Do we make mistakes? Yes, of course. Do leaders make mistakes? Of course. They make the same mistakes as the staff, but they are made much less. Most of the leaders, when I interview the Gen Y, they all feel that, oh, the Gen X never admit their mistakes. They just want to hide. They want to dodge. And they expect us, when we make mistakes, to say sorry. And they never themselves say sorry. Oops, I made a mistake. Of course, that's part of the Chinese heritage. One of the cultural barrier or the heritage of Chinese is our 面子 is very thick. Right? When you need to admit your mistake in front of other people, usually you perceive to be weak. However, it's on the contrary. When you admit mistake in front of the Gen Y, they feel that you are strong. So one of the key things is to learn to become courageously vulnerable. Courageously vulnerable. Okay? That's very hard to do, but at least I'm trying to practice in my staff. I have a lot of Gen Ys in my staff. If I make mistakes, I empower them to say, Ruth, I told all my staff, if I make mistake, tell me, I will admit it. Okay? It's hard. You are the boss. Right? But if you allow that to happen, you have even more influencing power than that. Okay? I told you this is probably the hardest part. Okay, this is the hardest part, especially in Chinese American. But that's what the Gen Y especially do. Okay, characteristic number 5. That's also partly you can learn from ancient wisdom. That also lots of latest research in the West that talks about water is gentle yet persistent. So how can we give effective feedback to your staff, especially positive feedback? Okay? Anxious hearts are very heavy, but a word of encouragement does wonders. That's what King Solomon once said as well. Now let's do a poll. Okay, let's do a quick poll. Okay. Okay, your view of giving appreciation to your staff. Okay. If you think first is true, then pick first. In most cases, people should know if they do a good job or not, so giving praise is a waste of time. Okay, that's most of the mother's mentality. Okay? In most cases, people like to be appreciated, but they may feel too proud of themselves if you give too much praise. Number 3, in most cases, I cannot find any good to say to staff's work. I can't lie, so I don't give appreciation. At least I have integrity, right? Because I don't find any good result. That's why I cannot lie. Okay? Number 4, I give appreciation to my staff because I find this can motivate people and build good relationship to them. But what's a truly belief, right? Few more seconds. Okay, let's get this up. Oh, okay. Is it this one? No, this one. So I guess I think we may need to change. I think this should be automatically go to the next one, right? Yeah. So that should be your next release. Okay. Software fix. Okay. All right. Hey, not this one as well. Okay, not this one. Do this and not this one. You are giving a version to start. Okay. Most of the people, very good. Think that I give appreciation to my staff because I find this can motivate people and build good relationship. That's very good. Slightly few people are saying that in most cases I cannot find anything good to say to the staff. So I cannot lie. So that's 3%. At least some are very have integrity. Integrity is also very important as a leader. Okay. But let's look at the latest research. Okay. There are effective praise, there are ineffective praise. Okay. And that's very interesting research lately that I'm going to share. Okay. First of all, why Facebook? They are the Facebook generation. Why Facebook is so popular? Because there's only like, there's no dislike. You can only affirm people. Yes, you can can dislike only when you like people first. You can like, but you cannot dislike. Right? There's no such. And people feel, oh, in the Facebook generation, I'm being confirmed and affirmed all the time. That's why I want to spend most of my time in the Facebook world. And in the real world, there's hardly any like, mostly criticism. My mother and my manager, my wife, my girlfriend. I think most of the time we have negative criticism more than appreciation, especially under Chinese culture. Okay? But yet, the next generation are the Facebook generation. Every day they spend 60 minutes plus in the Facebook world being infinitely appreciated. So they have this kind of time between the reality and the online world. So one of the very famous researcher on praise, on effective praise, is Dr. Carol Dweck from Stanford University. I'm not sure whether you heard about her. It's a very famous book called Mindset. Highly encourage you to read about it. She studied mainly children, okay, and the effect of praise to the children. But her work extends now into the business world. How can manager give effective praise to motivate people? And they find, and she finds, there are effective praise that really motivate people. There are ineffective praise. And most of the people are doing ineffective praise. And her research finds out that the ineffective praise can even do more harm than not giving praise at all. Very important. Okay? So Dr. Dweck, so just give an example. Typically, when we praise people, we usually praise in one of the three areas. Maybe we praise the inborn talent. For example, hey John, you are really so smart and full of talent. The customers really like you. Okay, that's A, inborn talent praise. Okay, or C, result-driven. Oh wow, Mary, you have exceeded your quota last year by 30%. Great. Okay, that's a result-driven praise. Okay, and in Hong Kong, as a very result-driven society, you think most of the cases are C, right? Because in our education system, when we are young, our mother and your teacher always look at how many A's you got, and whether you got a candy or ice cream or some gift or Lego, it all depends how many A's you got, right? So C is probably the most popular one. Maybe followed by A, because it's easy. Are you so smart? You're so beautiful. Okay. But there is B, praising on the behavior, praising on the effort, and praising on the decision. Okay. For example, I really like you not giving up to talk to the customers again. It shows that you're not giving up easily, and I really appreciate that. That's B type of praise. So just guess, which one is the most effective? B. Which one is the least used? B. Least used. B. Okay. So the Chinese ancient wisdom is right. If we praise too much A and C, it is confirmed by latest research that it do more harm than good. So another example, which one is the best? Which one is the best? C, right? C. Okay, that's good. Now you get the hang of it. Okay, because one, you are so smart. This is really the talent, the inborn talent. This is about the result. This is about the process, the effort, the decision. Research find out if you are doing the A type of praise, meaning only praising the inborn talent, then you give an effect that don't risk yourself in things that you're not good at. They will demotivate them to grow, to try new things. If you only praise the result, you are sending a message. Your boss only cares about the result. Use whatever means to achieve the results. So you may promote unethical behavior. They may 抄功課 if you are talking about it in the kids. And in the corporate world, the finance, look at Enron. Look at all those Lehman Brothers or whatever, right? They want to drive quarterly result because the higher the quarterly result is, the bigger, fatter the bonus is, and it may send a signal. Hey, if I can drive the result, I can do whatever it means. Yes?
But in the real business world,
yeah.
You can imagine for a company, if the CEO cannot make profit,
Yeah.
then well, we know what will going to happen. The board will actually fire
Yes.
the CEO,
Yes.
and well, they will put all the break in the newspaper. So I think, well, you can imagine for the CEO, the top management,
Yes.
they have to make sure that there must be result.
Yes.
Of course, in the right way.
Yes.
Not,
Yes.
accounting, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, on the individual level, I fully agree.
Yeah. But on
how
corporate level,
you can
right?
translate it into talking about a corporate performance.
Yes.
Otherwise, look, they will get fired. Yeah, they
Yes.
are satisfied.
Mhm.
You work with this company, but they have to be laid off.
Very good question. Very good question. Yes, in the materialistic world that we're living in, we have to drive result. Yes, we need to celebrate result when we achieve a certain goal. I'm not saying that celebrate result is not important. Celebrate result is important. But praising certain effort, by celebrating results, you can use that as the first for the overall team, setting the right positive atmosphere. Then saying, oh, I want to acknowledge a few people in my team who really pay extra effort to drive this. Bonnie, she really do the extra mile of doing that. Alison, she already showing that she stayed late until 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night to finish her work. I really appreciate that. One does not mean that I can only do C and forget about B. The key thing is, her research shown that if people only do A and C, it do harm. But if you also mix with B type of praise, you will send a very motivating signal to your team. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying C is not important. But in the Chinese society, I don't think we need to teach people to praise more about C. It's already in our blood. But we need to encourage people to use more B, because that's not in our blood. Okay? Dr. Weck, on a research saying that most of the people, they can categorize it into two areas: the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. The fixed mindset people feel that intelligence, talent are fixed. It cannot be changed. Okay? The growth mindset people feel that intelligence, talent, achievement, and things like that, they can go up and down. It can be developed. So So there's a research trying to categorize two types of people. And they find the two mindsets of people have very different reactions to different things. The fixed mindset people, they see skills that are born with. This is fixed. Okay? Growth mindset is skills come from hard work. Fixed mindset people think that challenges are something we should avoid. Okay? Should reveal lack. It's also the challenges or effort or things like that reveal that you are not naturally good at something. Okay? Effortlessly. So all the Hollywood movie promote that, oh, you are such a naturally born talent. When you to go to school, you just don't need to study and you become a very successful person. Mark Zuckerberg, you don't need to go through Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, they don't need to go through university. They can naturally become very successful. Okay? So all the kind of the world feels that promote the fixed mindset. Yet people with the growth mindset see effort and challenges are essential path to mastery. When they see challenge, they have more persistence. When they got feedback, especially negative feedback, they see that the fixed mindset people will get very defensive, find lots of excuse. The growth mindset people, they feel feedback are very useful, a good way to learn and to grow. When they encounter failures and setbacks, fixed mindset, they would blame others, they got discouraged. When they see failure, the growth mindset people, they see a wake-up call to improve the next time.
Isn't that also related to age, though?
Very good question. Very good. I'll answer that later on, okay? So this research, Dr. Wack mainly focused on children first. They categorize those into two mindsets. Okay? What do you feel? Do you want your kids to have growth mindset or fixed mindset? Of course, growth. Do you want your staff to have growth or fixed mindset? Of course, growth. So how can we shift from fixed mindset to growth mindset? The research is effective praising. Effective praising is the key way to shift people from fixed mindset to growth mindset. Let's do a very summary video. Forgive me, because I got this YouTube video, the caption is a Google Translate. So it's a little bit of not entirely accurate, but at least I have some English caption going on, okay? Okay, I need to use ancient way.
Wack and her colleagues wanted to look into the impacts that praise had on children's development. So what they did is they took over 400 fifth grade students from all across the nation, and they did a really simple yet interesting study. Here's how it went down. They gave all the kids a really easy non-verbal IQ test. There were 10 questions, and at the end of the test, they praised all the children in one of two ways. The first group was praised for their intelligence. So they said, wow, great job, you must be really smart at this. Now this it had is incredible. It is incredible. So after praising.
Okay, don't worry, I gotta back up. Sorry.
Impacts that praise had on children's development. So what they did is they took over 400 fifth grade students from all across the nation, and they did a really simple yet interesting study. Here's how it went down. They gave all the kids a really easy non-verbal IQ test. There were 10 questions, and at the end of the test, they praised all the children in one of two ways. The first group was praised for their intelligence. So they said, wow, great job, you must be really smart at this. Now the second group was praised for their effort. So they said, wow, great job, you must have worked really hard at this. Now this is a really subtle difference, but the impact it had is incredible. So after praising the kids and getting them divided up into the two groups, they gave them all an option for their next test. The first option was, hey, this next test is going to be a little bit harder, but it's going to be a great opportunity to learn and grow. Now the second option was, this next test will be similar to the first, and you will surely do well on it. Now the interesting thing is, out of the group that was praised for their intelligence, 67% of them chose the easier option, while 92% of the kids who were praised for their effort chose the harder test. This is unbelievable to think about, how just the subtle difference in the way that they were praised had such an impact. Carol Dweck explains why this happens.
The child or adult hears, oh, you think I'm brilliant and talented. That's why you admire me. That's why you value me. I better not do anything that will disprove this evaluation. As a result, they enter a fixed mindset, they play it safe in the future, and they limit the growth of their talents. Whereas focusing on the strategies they use, the way they're stretching themselves and taking on hard tasks, the intense practice they're doing, those are the kinds of things that say to a child or an older athlete, it's about the process of growth. As a result, they don't feel, oh, if I make a mistake, you won't think I'm talented. They think, oh, if I don't take on hard things and stick to them, I'm not going to grow.
Next, Dweck and her colleagues gave all the kids a really, really difficult test. It was one that they would surely fail, but they wanted to look at how the different kids attacked this challenge. Dweck noticed that the group that was praised for effort worked harder, longer, and actually enjoyed this test more than the group that was praised for their intelligence. This group got really frustrated with this test and had the tendency to give up early. After this artificially induced failure round, all of the kids were given a third and final test. Now this test was the same level of difficulty as the first one, but check out the results. The group that was praised for their intelligence actually did worse on this test than the first one. Their average score actually dropped by 20%, while the group that was praised for their effort did significantly better, raising their average score by nearly 30%. This is a 50% difference in performance that was caused by a few subtle differences in the way that they were praised. This study shows how praise can either make or break a child's development. I mean, we all do it. We all want to be positive with the children we work with, so teachers, coaches, parents are always looking for ways to support their kids and tend to praise them quite a bit. So we need to look at research like this and realize, okay, praise is a good thing and there's nothing wrong with being positive, but we need to be very careful about praising someone's intelligence or abilities and focus more on the process and the effort that they put forth. I think this is a pretty easy fix that will help us develop growth mindsets within the kids that we work with. And as all the research shows, having a growth mindset has a big time impact on the development of a child, whether it's on the court, in the classroom, or just in life. Thanks so much for following along and watching this video. For more like this, visit championshipbasketballschool.com and click on the championship newsletter. See you next week. Thanks, guys.
Okay, all right. So Chinese wisdom is actually true. Too much praising can be worse. But you have to be really careful what kind of praising. Okay? So it's partially correct. Okay? That's a
who believes in indefinite
That's a 50% difference. Think about that, 50% difference. If you only praise the ineffective praise compared to the effective praise, the result of 50% performance difference. Do you want your team to have 50% higher performance? We all do, right? The way of how to do praising makes a 50% difference. You say, oh, this is only kids stuff. This is only working in children. Yes, I actually go to a lot of school now. PTA, I got invited by St. Paul, by many schools to talk about effective praising. But yes, the research clearly shows it has a very big effect on children. But now, many researchers now extending Dr. Weck's research on adult learning, on business management. They find it's equally applicable. The early findings find that the growth mindset is where you want to promote your team to have, and effective praising is the best tool. Okay? Early results already show that it applied equally well in the adult business world. Okay? The problem is B type of praising. Praising the effort, praising the decision, praising the process is much harder to do. Why? Because it takes time. It takes observation. You cannot, like for example, using a kid. Most of the parents, when they monitor the kids of doing homework, what do? They do the homework and you watch TV, you watch Sing Sing, right? Or say, oh, don't switch on the TV, but you switch on your iPad, right? And they were doing the stuff, you're not observing them. If you don't observe them, you cannot have B type of praise. But your biggest enemy is your iPhone, your Android, your Samsung.